Alright, so floor 11 of the new Spiral Abyss. One thing you're going to notice is that I have very, very bad bonuses for my teams on this floor in these chambers. It's a little unfortunate, but that's alright. So the new Spiral Abyss, though, is very interesting because floor 11, honestly, got a bit easier, I think. Outside of the final chamber, which didn't necessarily get harder, but became more of an element check. But floor 12 got a lot harder, and I mean that in the best way possible. So we'll get to that, though, in the floor 12 video when I eventually go through that. But right now we're talking about floor 11. So floor 11 moved the monolith protection chamber to the first chamber when it was on the second chamber before, and now it is not. What is it? It is not the. It was hilichurls and metaturals before, and it was a real pain trying to manage their aggro because they would just randomly de-aggro from you, and there were so many of them that you couldn't reasonably control them all. It was just a pain to deal with. But the new one is a lot more manageable. So the first half is 16 total treasure hoarders, and the second half is going to be 8 in total. But of those, every time 4 are going to spawn at a time on different sides of the monolith. So in the first chamber you saw the pattern was, if you're looking at it from the entrance, the far side, then the left side, then the back side, the side closest to you, and then the right side, and then the side closest to you, the front side. Here, I believe, is what that was. Yeah, if I'm remembering correctly. Already forgetting. After literally just watching it again right here. But, each one of those spawns is going to be 2 melee treasure hoarders and 2 ranged ones on both halves of the chamber. So in the first chamber, it's going to be the shooters with their crossbows, and the second half, it's going to be the grenaders or arcanists or whatever they're called that throw the elemental little grenade-like things. And so what I would suggest very heavily is the moment that they spawn, you need to be ready to grab the aggro from all of them. Especially the ranged characters first, because they're going to be the first ones to target the monolith, and they can do some decent damage to it, so you want to get rid of them very quickly, and primarily target down their, grab their aggro. The melee ones are a lot more easy to control, just because they're melee, they have to be physically at the monolith. You saw I did not grab aggro on the ranged guys right there, and they attacked the monolith, but at this point, it's pretty much, I still had over 20% health on it, and still get 3 stars, so I wasn't too worried about that. But it's pretty easy once you just learn the patterns to grab their aggro really quickly and go through and just kind of burst them down. It's not too hard. A lot easier than the previous monolith protection chamber, and a lot more fun. It's not RNG. It's not RNG, it's amazing. But now we're getting into the second chamber. So this chamber is another Fatui chamber. So they're very similar on both sides. So both sides are going to have 2 Electro Fatuis and the 1 Hydro Fatui. And then one of the first chamber is going to have the Anima Boxer, or the first half is going to have the Anima Boxer, and the second half is going to have the Geocaster. So I would suggest on the second one that you make sure that you have someone that can break through the Geocaster, just because I don't recommend targeting him first unless you're very confident with the amount of Electro that you have with you, which actually you probably should on the second half especially. Simply because the third chamber is going to require a lot of Electro. Like you see here, I've targeted down the Hydro guy, and now I've got the Geo guy. I had Zhongli to deal with his shield, and then I've got Diona to deal with the Electro Fatui shields. And so I essentially just kind of grouped them up because they spawn nearby each other, so drop a little bit of CC, keep them grouped up a bit, and then burst them down as a group, focusing on getting rid of the Hydra guy first. You should be running Cryo on both teams. Just plain and simple, you pretty much have to on floor 11, run at least one cryo character on both teams, and on the second half, because of Chamber 3, I suggest running 2 cryo, and even an electro if you can. As well, Chamber 11 gives a nice bonus to physical damage, so if you have like a Razor built, he would be amazing on the second half of Chamber of the second half of floor 11 here. So now we're getting into Chamber 3, so the first half of Chamber 3 is not too difficult. It can be a little annoying if you don't have Sucrose or Venti built up to use. So you're going to get 2 Cryo Sisson Mages and 1 Electro Sisson Mage. And I literally just recommend, this floor you need to just burst down as quickly as possible, so that you can have as much time as possible in the second half. And it's as long as you have, again, Venti or Sucrose, you should be able to burst this down very quickly. I think I finished this in a total of 30 to 45 seconds, somewhere in that range, and I definitely could have done it faster than I ended up doing it here because I didn't end up grouping them properly at the end. Yeah, I think it takes about 40 seconds, it looks like. Yeah, I'm about to kill him. Oh, the getting inflicted by Hydro and having the Cryo Mage is very fun. And so this is where we're going to come down into the second half of Chamber 3, and this is going to make or break your run. In fact, I suggest going for 3 stars on Chambers 1 and 2 first, and then bringing an entirely separate team to run through and use in this final chamber, because Chamber 3's second half is the 2 of the Hydro Abyss Heralds, and getting them to group the way that you want is very difficult because they have so many, they love just using their attacks that just have them flying around, and they like to just kind of dash back away from you every so often, so it's really hard to keep them grouped. And I do the best that I can here, and it works out fairly well for me, especially with Zhongli's CC on them like this, but you're still going to see one of them ends up getting bursted down more quickly than the other. Simply, that's just how it works, unfortunately. But yeah. Oh no, the shields are going to get bursted down. So this is the main thing. Like you see, I bursted them down in roughly a minute, not too bad. But their shields, this is going to drain your available time. This is why I suggest having a lot of cryo. When their shields are up, they're going to consistently have hydro applied, so it's really easy to grab a cryo character and keep them permanently frozen so that you can wail on their shields. And potentially keep them grouped for longer if they are in a moment when they group up, if that happens for you, hopefully. And Cryo and Electro are 2 of the main ways to deal with Hydro shields. Cryo is what I recommend just because, again, you're going to freeze them and keep them CC'd, so having 2 Cryo characters to switch between on their cooldowns, because with the Hydro debuff, your cooldowns are doubled, so having extra Cryo to be more consistently be able to do things with that is really going to be helpful to burst these guys down like this. I get 2 stars on this floor instead of 3 just because of how long it takes me to break these shields, because my only cryo character I have on this team is Diona. And then Kaching is there as well, but Electro just doesn't break through cryo shields as quickly, unfortunately. So that's just kind of how that is. So again, like I said, I recommend doing the first 2 chambers, then building a separate team setup. Gosh, why did he... I still don't get why he did his dash like 5 times. It's ridiculous. So I highly recommend, again, doing the first 2 chambers, then leaving and building a separate team specifically for this chamber, Chamber 3, with your second half team having at least 2 cryo characters, so that you can still burst everything down. I wouldn't even recommend changing your first half team. Probably won't even have to be changed. It's just the second half team to make sure that you have plenty of cryo to break these shields, because that is the cryo. These shields are what is going to eat up your time entirely. It is not difficult. You see, I don't really have much issue with damage. I'm not in danger of dying most of the time outside of couple stupid things. With my Diona and Zhongli there, I just let them take damage when they didn't need to, but otherwise it wasn't really difficult as much as it is just those shields are so tanky. It is insane how tanky those shields are. So just swap out, grab it, make sure, or even if your initial team could have 2 cryo and you'd be fine. But if you felt like you needed something a bit more, just switch your team to make sure that you have 2 cryos. And if you are running a Razor or Kaching, they're great. They're going to be great on the second half as well, because Electro works against Hydro Shields just not quite as well as Cryo. And being a physical buffing floor, Abyss floor, just having super conduct and dealing a lot of focusing on dealing some physical damage is also going to be generally helpful, but not the priority as much as making sure that you have enough cryo, despite the hydro debuff doubling your cooldowns, making sure that you have enough cryo to break through those shields in a timely manner, so that you can still get 3 stars in that 3-minute window. So hopefully this was helpful. I'm loving the new Spiral Abyss. I think obviously the shields are a little bit annoying there, but it's still super fun. I'm loving it a lot. But hopefully this video helped those of you that are struggling or want just a little bit of advice on how to handle and optimize and deal with. Maybe not optimize. I'm not. Maybe not optimize, but a few tips and tricks on how to handle floor 12 to get the max number of stars. Be sure to subscribe for more content like this coming in the future. Let me know in the comments below what you'd like to hear me talk about next in other future videos as well, and have a fantastic rest of your day.